Hey everyone, this is going to be kind of a short video, but I want to put a little disclaimer at the beginning. First of all, people have been wondering if I'm dead. I can tell you that at the time I am recording this, I am actually not dead. At least not physically. The best place to keep up with me is on Twitter. I'm not going to call it X. Just don't scroll it at work because apparently it's been taken over by hardcore porn bots now. Yeah, thanks a lot, real life Tony Stark, Rocket Jesus. Very 420 epic bacon of you. Also, to the people asking about the second episode of the Veriboo series, I apologize for that, but you need to send your complaints to this guy right here. Just write to Huilo Pina Dobojobovic. Oh yeah, it'd be great if you could throw some spicy cow powder into the envelope. You'll almost certainly take out a member of Russia's Federal Guard service. Won't really change much, but it'd be pretty funny. All right, with that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So it's come to this. You're online, showing everyone on social media what a savvy, independent thinker you are. When suddenly, you spot a normie with the Ukrainian flag in their handle, saying Ukraine good. But you're smarter than that. You know that Ukraine is the current thing. And the current thing is actually bad. But simply saying Ukraine bad isn't enough to own this pathetic, functional adult, normie. So you reach deep into your mental arsenal and come out with the most incisive, irrefutable argument known to man. If you care about Ukraine so much, why don't you sign up to fight? Alright, seriously folks, if you've seen nothing else on this channel, you've undoubtedly seen my video from last year on the dumbest arguments about the war in Ukraine. Obviously, that video's list of dumb arguments wasn't exhaustive, and thanks to some people in the comments section, I discovered a lot more dumb arguments. But this is a video dedicated to what may be the dumbest argument, if you can even call it an argument. Naturally, a non-argument doesn't bear refuting, but some people have sincerely asked me what they should say in response, so I'll give you a few pointers. But in truth, the main reason I want to pick apart and tackle this idiotic line is because the very fact that people use it in connection with this topic bears testament to how moronic online discourse has become, and why we need to seriously talk about how to restore even the most basic critical thinking skills in our society. So just like in the intro, the non-argument is basically some variant on why don't you go fight in Ukraine if you care so much? And for those of you who don't know about my career change in 2022, yes, I do get asked this all the time on Twitter, where we've actually invented a game where you have to drink an alcoholic beverage every time someone tells me to do the thing I literally did 2 years ago. Oh yeah, and if you think it's funny that people tell me to go fight in Ukraine, keep in mind someone once told the Georgian Legion to go fight in Ukraine. They told the Georgian Legion to go fight in Ukraine. Alright then, how do you refute the non-argument? Well, the simple fact is that for most of the people being asked, Ukraine is a foreign country. Their own military forces are not fighting there. This may come as a shock, but joining a foreign military in a conflict on the other side of the world is nowhere near as easy as, say, going into a US military recruiting station and signing up. I still get people asking me how they can enlist to serve over here, and honestly, I don't know what to tell them because the system of recruitment and contracts has changed radically and rapidly over the course of the war. Meaning that the way I got in was different than those who came in just a few weeks before me and changed shortly thereafter, God knows how many times. What I can tell you is that even just getting a contract can be a major pain in the ass, and if you do, that doesn't mean you're on your way to the front just yet. This isn't Call of Duty or Battlefield where you as an individual join a multiplayer server and immediately get dropped into a battle. You're part of a unit and you go where the unit goes or doesn't go. Honestly, I am amazed that I have to explain this fact to so many grown adults in 2024, yet here we are. Now, aside from that, we're also talking about many people with zero concrete ties to Ukraine who have families and full-time jobs in their own countries. Incidentally, many of these people are actively funding all kinds of critical projects for the Ukrainian military, from FPV drones to medical supplies, and even the maritime drones used to wreck Russia's Black Sea Fleet. Yes, that's right, dear viewer. The suburban wine MILF with the Ukraine flag in bio has very likely contributed to those drones you see wrecking Russian soldiers and vehicles every day. So maybe show a little respect. Apart from all this, the vast majority of people are in no physical or mental shape to serve effectively in their own country's military forces, let alone that of a foreign country. If Russia's performance in this war has taught us anything, it's that masses of bodies, even hardened criminals, doesn't necessarily translate to strategic success. And therefore, Ukraine would derive zero benefit from a massive influx of middle-aged to elderly men and women with zero useful military skills or combat experience. So there, already we have dignified this non-response far more than it ever deserved. So I'll sum it up like this. These people are not coming over here to fight because it is neither in Ukraine's nor their best interest to do so. And they can actually have a much bigger impact right where they are, crowdfunding for vital equipment, lobbying representatives, or other tasks which we won't discuss. Of course, it's even easier just to point out that you'll never see these same people telling Russia fans to go sign up, even though we know Russia is so desperate for men, they're now press-ganging foreign students into their army, often luring them from abroad with promises of huge salaries, or even just university education. You'll never see them tell the very vocal Western Palestine supporters to go to Gaza to do humanitarian work, if not join Hamas and fight the IDF. And by the same token, you don't see a lot of the Israel supporters signing up to join the IDF either. And let's face it, both sides have very good reasons not to do that. But we could break this dumb argument down even further. Oh, you're concerned about the border? Well, go join the Border Patrol. Oh, you're concerned about crime? Go join the police force. That's a lot easier than enlisting in a foreign, non-English speaking military halfway across the world, is it not? Oh, you don't like cancer? Go to med school. Become a researcher. You see, it really is that dumb. And the reason it's so dumb is it's basically a total corruption of an argument long used in Western, particularly American anti-war movements. It's basically the chicken hawk argument. The term chicken hawk was used to describe Americans who supported the Vietnam War either at the time or retroactively, yet avoided serving in it. Decades later, the anti-Iraq War movement would appropriate the term, and that's where things started to go wrong. What so many people seem to forget, and somewhat understandably if they were born well after the Vietnam War, is that during Vietnam, our country had this thing called a draft. And as young men from poor white and minority communities were effectively forced to fight in this conflict that few at the time, including the nation's leaders, fully understood, the sons of the wealthy used their connections to secure deferments and either avoid service entirely or ensure that they would remain stateside or otherwise out of danger. I mean, come on, CCR did a song about this. You know it's actually a requirement that by law, if you make a movie about the Vietnam era, you have to have this song play somewhere. People had paid fines for leaving that out. But to give two notable examples of each of these scenarios, former President Donald Trump received a medical deferment to avoid getting drafted, while former President George W. Bush got into the Texas Air National Guard, remaining stateside and not ending up like John McCain. Truth be told, this was very common among well-to-do Americans and had little to do with their personal feelings on the war. But looking back with this understanding, anyone can see the obvious injustice, especially when it came to people who did vocally support the war but didn't want to fight in it themselves. Now, this same argument would be brought up during the Iraq War era, where young conservative men were often accused of cheering for the war but not signing up to fight it. Documentary filmmaker Michael Moore would raise this issue in his 2004 film Fahrenheit 9/11.
You have kids?
Yeah.
If any way we can get them to enlist and go over there and help out with the effort, got all the brochures.
While the arguments still seemed compelling, after all, this was America's war and many supporters could easily join their own military, I think we lost sight of something. In Vietnam, there was still a draft, whereas by the time of the War on Terror, we'd long had a volunteer army. Right or wrong, when you sign on that line, you're agreeing to the possibility that you may get sent to war. And countries often launch ill-conceived, if not stupid, wars. The Iraq War was, for many people of my generation, a formative political moment. Decades later, we're seeing the Iraq War invoked in response to all kinds of conflicts, even by people who were in diapers when the events of 2003 took place. And this is a problem because it means that the war and its era will also be misremembered and misunderstood, just like Vietnam. And once again, we derive the wrong lessons from the experience. And that's how we get into the current situation where a country launches the largest war in Europe since World War II based on pretext so nonsensical as to make the Bush administration's weapons of mass destruction claims look rock solid by comparison, and thousands of online idiots sincerely think the United States somehow made Putin do that. The same idiots will talk about Ukrainian soldiers being sent off to die in language that implies that Ukraine invaded Russia and not the other way around. And yes, the discourse has become so dumb we've recycled the old chicken hawk argument into a topic where it makes zero sense. No other foreign army is fighting for Ukraine currently, and the Ukrainians haven't been asking for you to fight their war. If you truly don't care about this conflict either way, you're always welcome to, shut the f*** up! So the next time someone tells you to go fight in Ukraine if you support Ukraine so much, just laugh at them and consider donating to some of the verified Ukrainian charities listed below. That $10 you don't spend on booze can very easily help convert some orcs into compost. And besides, even if you did come here and enlist and fight, you're still going to get people telling you to do that. I'm living proof. So there you go. Dumb argument destroyed. All right, well, thanks for listening to my little rant there. Hope that was somewhat entertaining. I'd ask, as always, that you click like and subscribe. Check out the description below for the link to my Patreon. But more important than my Patreon are the links to some verified Ukrainian charities who are doing really good work over here. So thanks again for watching. See you next time.